What if love was never pure, only powerful? What if every I love you was not a confession, but a contract? A subtle agreement where two souls pretend to merge, while secretly measuring who controls whom. More than a century ago, one man saw it coming, Nietzsche. He warned that modern love would one day become the most beautiful form of slavery humanity had ever invented. And he was right. Because beneath every romance lies a silent struggle, not of hearts, but of hierarchy, not affection, but authority. You see, we've been told a comforting lie, that love is harmony, a divine balance between equals, but Nietzsche saw through the mask. He called it the will to power, the hidden engine behind every emotion, every desire, every bond. Love, he said, is not the surrender of power. It's the disguise of it. Think about it. When you fall in love, what really happens? You don't meet a soulmate, you meet a mirror. Someone who reflects the version of yourself you most want to believe in. You mold your behavior to be seen, to be chosen, to be enough. You start trading authenticity for approval, piece by piece, smile by smile, until one day, you wake up realizing you've volunteered for your own emotional servitude. You didn't fall in love. You fell into compliance. Nietzsche's warning wasn't against love itself, but against the illusion we've built around it. He knew that once men lost their inner purpose, their creative power, they would seek meaning in women. And once they did, love would stop being connection and start being compensation. The Industrial Revolution replaced strength with machinery, mastery with routine, and men began searching for significance in romance. Society told them, find her, love her, and you'll be whole again. But how can you find wholeness in someone else when you've abandoned your own center? That's where the modern tragedy begins. Today, love has become an emotional economy. Men perform for validation, women perform for control, and both mistake attention for affection. Every gesture has a price, every emotion an expectation. Love, the one thing that should be sacred, has become transactional. You are told that compromise is noble, that sacrifice is love. But Nietzsche called it what it is, self-betrayal. Every time you silence your truth for peace, you trade your freedom for acceptance. Every time you pretend to agree just to avoid being alone, you dissolve a part of your soul. And here's the irony. We call it commitment. But commitment without individuality is captivity. You cannot truly love if you cannot truly be. Nietzsche's words echo through centuries. You must become hard, cruel to yourself. Not cruel in malice, but in mastery. The discipline to never shrink just to be loved. The strength to remain whole, even when the world demands you split yourself in two. Because love built on need is dependency, not devotion. Look at history. The Greeks saw love as mania, a divine madness that consumed reason. The Romans saw it as a negotiation, a deal of duty and property. Even the poets of the Middle Ages played love like a game, courtship as conquest. It was never about equality. It was always about energy, about who yields and who commands. In 18th century France, the salonières, brilliant, graceful women, ruled the intellectual world. Men like Voltaire and Rousseau, the architects of Western thought, knelt emotionally before them. Letters, poems, desperate confessions, all for validation from the women who controlled their access to prestige. Does it sound familiar? Because today it's not salons, it's screens, it's dating apps, comment sections, and endless swipes. Men still perform, only now the applause comes in likes and replies. The theater changed, the slavery stayed. Be confident but not arrogant, successful but not intimidating, vulnerable but not weak. Every man is now an actor in a play he didn't write, judged by rules no one ever defined. Nietzsche would call it the herd morality of love, the conformity of desire. The way society teaches you to want what keeps you docile, because if they control what you love, they control how you live. But there is a way out, a rebellion of the spirit, the Übermensch. Nietzsche's answer to this emotional servitude wasn't cynicism, it was evolution. The higher man doesn't reject love, he redefines it. He doesn't seek completion in another person. He brings completeness to them. He doesn't chase. He attracts through gravity, the gravity of a man who no longer needs to be chosen. He understands that love is not equality, it's polarity. Two forces, opposite yet drawn together, not to balance, but to challenge, to sharpen one another through tension, not dissolve through submission. Because real love doesn't demand surrender, it demands strength. The ordinary man says, I need her to make me whole. The higher man says, I am whole, and that is why I can love without losing myself. One creates dependence, the other creates devotion, and yet most men never make this shift. They live in quiet exhaustion, desperate for approval, terrified of rejection. They confuse attention for intimacy and submission for connection. They think they're loving, but really they're performing. And women? Many are trapped too, told that love should make them powerful, even if it means controlling the man who offers it. But love used as leverage is not power. It's fear in disguise. Fear of not being seen. Fear of not being chosen. Both sides wear masks. Neither truly meets the other. But when two sovereign beings meet, two who have conquered their own chaos, something else happens. A connection that is not transactional, but transcendent. A love that doesn't drain, but expands. That's what Nietzsche hinted at. Not the death of love, but its rebirth through self-mastery. When you no longer love to be completed, but to express completion, love transforms. It ceases to be slavery and becomes sacred. Because freedom and love are not enemies. They are reflections of the same force. To love someone while remaining free is to stand in your truth without fear of loss. To say, I choose you, not from emptiness, but from strength. That's why Nietzsche's philosophy still cuts so deep today. He wasn't anti-love, he was anti-illusion. He wanted men to see that real love begins only when self-deception ends, when you stop pretending that love will fix your wounds, and instead use love to reveal them. Because once you awaken to your own depth, the way you connect changes forever. You stop begging for attention and start commanding energy. You stop performing for validation and start radiating truth. You stop chasing the one because you've already become one. That is the evolution of love. That is the Übermensch's path. Not to conquer others, but to conquer oneself. So ask yourself, are you loving to escape yourself or to express yourself? Because that question separates the slave from the sovereign. And once you taste that sovereignty, that calm, magnetic stillness Nietzsche called becoming who you are, you'll never chase love again. You'll become it. Welcome to Mind Stoic Legacy, where men don't seek validation, they seek truth, where love is not submission, but strength refined through understanding, where control is not domination, but self-mastery, because true power doesn't control others, it controls emotion, and true love doesn't enslave, it liberates. Thanks for watching. If this resonated with you, subscribe and join us.